Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the city of West Lafayette, and welcome to another Fun with the Mayor. Today, I have with me our street commissioner and our street superintendent, and the guy that knows everything about the streets in the city of West Lafayette, Mr. Dave Downey. Dave, thanks so much for being here. We're now getting into the winter season, and one thing that we do great in the state of Indiana is we pile snow up and we freeze roads and we get water where it's not supposed to be. How do we decide when somebody's neighborhood needs to be plowed and they call up my office and say, hey John, I can't get out of my driveway to get to work? How do we let them know? What sort of a process do we have when it comes to clearing the streets of snow and ice?
Well, first of all, remember one thing. We will come to every street. We will touch every street. Anytime we get a half inch of snow or more, because a half inch can be just as slick as 6 or 8 inches. I take care of the major thoroughfares first. That would probably be any street that carries 5,000 cars or more per day. Prime examples: Happy Hollow Hill, Salisbury Street, State Street, Northwestern Avenue. Take care of those first, because if those aren't clear and travelable, then there's no sense of you getting out of your driveway and on. And once I get out of that, I go to the neighborhoods. I'll do the streets that go completely through. In other words, they're not dead ends.
The arterials.
Take care of them next, and then I go to the cul-de-sacs last. Unfortunately, the reason that happens is that they're hard and difficult for us to do. When you get a truck, a tandem truck or a dump truck like we have, and it's that long, it's tough to turn them around. We'll have to back up twice to get in a cul-de-sac and get out of it. So it's tough.
Oh, I recognize that. Here's another question I get asked. How come when we have a lot of snow on the streets, people see our trucks driving on those streets with the blades up? What's up with that, besides the blade?
The only reason our blades would be up, and I don't care if we're on a state highway or crossing a county road or whatever, the only reason that blade would be up is if we've already treated that road with chemicals. Salt, brine, or calcium chloride, and that chemical's already down there. I don't want to plow it off. So that's the only time those blades would be up, and my men know that.
Okay, now what about temperature extremes? Is it ever too cold to put chemicals down, or is it ever too cold to run a plow down the street?
Well, it's not too cold to put it down. It's just that it won't work.
Okay.
Salt will work. The salt that's behind us, it will work down to approximately 9-10 degrees. After that, we add calcium to it, or something else to it. We're trying something new this year called beet heat, and it's actually a molasses sugar, and sugar helps that the salt and the chlorides work a little better. That'll get us down to about 0.
Okay.
But after that, we're just, that's when you'll start seeing me put sand out.
There you go.
And I put that sand out just to give you a little grit and help you get a little traction and go from there. And then the sun hits that brown sand, and it helps create a heat a little bit, and it'll start to work.
Okay. And you know, there is sort of a comprehensive approach here. You know, our street department maintains the signals, it maintains the signs, it maintains the roads, but it also works in cooperation with our wastewater utility and Mr. Henderson in making sure that the gutters are clear and that there isn't anything really horrible going into our sanitation system. Is that correct?
It is correct. We sweep the street for one. We get all the debris that we possibly can off the street. And the reason we get that off of there is we don't want it to go through the sewage plant, because if it goes through the sewage plant, then that has to go to the landfill, and it costs the city a lot more money. After that, we clean the gutters and the catch basins. We suck them out. We got a big piece of machinery that does that. Pull that stuff out of there. Of course, again, we don't want that to plug up and cause puddles on the street, which could freeze. But we clean that out again, because we don't want that to go through the wastewater plant because of the expense. Then we've got that same machine. We can go down the sewer line and clean that out and catch it at the other end and suck it out and take it to the landfill also.
Great stuff.
And this is all governed by IDEM.
We've mentioned you know, some of the processes that we go through to try and make sure that our roads are safe in the winter. In addition to salt, what else do we use?
Well, we use a salt brine, which basically we put water with the salt and make it a liquid. And so it's a sea salt, basically. And then we have calcium chloride, and we use that when the temperatures drop below 10 degrees.
And where do we keep this stuff?
And we got some huge tanks just back to your right there, behind us. The first tank's got calcium chloride in it. It's a huge tank. And next, about 6,250 gallons. The next 6,250 gallon tank has what's called beet heat, which basically is a molasses sugar mixed with calcium chloride and some magnesium. And then the littler tank, which is only about 3,000 gallons, that's what we keep the salt brine in. And we depends on the temperature and etc. We select one of them and add it to the rock salt, or we'll add it to the sand and spread it on the
Well, here we are again, and a lot of people make the assumption that what we put on the roads is magic to keep the salt, the ice and the snow from sticking, but it's actually not. It's actually salt. Now, this isn't exactly the same stuff that you put on your meat and potatoes. This is a different type of salt that's used specifically to melt the roads, or to melt the snow and ice on the roads when it gets inclement.
The only difference is that this hasn't been cleaned up and refined and ground down to so that you can put it in your salt shaker. But other than that, it's
Pretty
salt.
close?
It's salt. Real
Salt
close.
is salt, I guess, huh?
Yes,
Lesson learned, man. Well, if you look behind us, we've got a pretty good mountain of salt here. About how many ton is this right here in this bin?
There's anywhere from 900 to 1,100 tons in there. This building's 50 by 50, and the concrete wall is 8 foot high, and so it's another 12. It's almost 20 foot high up there to that peak, just under that rafter. And so we're almost to the top of that rafter. Of course, it's mounded off. But
Yeah.
quite a
Now,
bit.
I mean, to me, this looks like a bunch. How long will this last us this winter?
I'm hoping to get to mid-January.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And
Wow.
after that, I'm going to have to fill this up again, and hopefully I'll only use maybe half of that. So I'll use about 1,800 tons on a normal winter. But I have a feeling, for one reason, we picked up a few more roads this winter.
Yep.
And so I figure we'll run about 2,200 tons.
Wow. Now, I know that not only humans like salt, but other animals like salt as well. What do you get in? You get any critters in here trying to lick on the salt?
Get some birds.
That's it?
And
What about deer?
I haven't caught any yet.
You see, because you had told me earlier about a deer being skinned and stuck in the back of the
Yeah.
truck.
Well, it wasn't ours.
I'm just wondering. I've heard of venison stew before.
Yeah.
So this is half of what we'll use
Just
for this
about,
particular
yes.
winter.
Yep.
Okay. Good to know.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, citizens of West Lafayette. Street Commissioner Dave Downey making sure that your streets are safe, your roads are clear of ice and snow, your trash is picked up, your recycling is taken care of, and that the city of West Lafayette, as always, is one of the cleanest and neatest cities in the state of Indiana. We couldn't get by without him. So this is your mayor, John Dennis, and our street superintendent, Dave Downey, signing off from another Fun with the Mayor.